I am fresh out of the theater for the 7th installment in the best franchise still out, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Everyone likes it. Critics like it. Love. I think the Rotten Tomatoes right now is a 95. The audience score is like a 95 or 96. Let's get started, man. Fresh off. Does this one live up to the hype? Does it live up to the quality that the previous Mission Impossibles have set? And the answer is yes. We're talking about film quality, the stunts, the action. It's all there. It's beautiful. I will say there's really only one huge stunt in this one, and it's the one that's been in the trailer since the teaser a year ago. I mean, it's the one with Tom Cruise riding the motorcycle off the cliff. They've released, I don't know how many YouTube videos about the stunt, so everyone knows that it's in the movie. So when you actually see it in the movie, yes, it's badass, but we've seen it so many times now that it was a little bit of a downer. I mean, these companies, man, they keep putting so much in all these trailers. It reminds me of the Batman with the chase scene when the Batmobile comes flying over the 18-wheeler with the flames. And that was like the end of all the trailers, so you already knew it was going to be in the movie. So the director is back for his 3rd straight installment in the franchise. He also did Rogue Nation and Fallout. And I'll just say now, both those movies are better than this one, and it's mostly plot-oriented. Both those movies, I know Fallout for sure, also had 2 huge stunts that honestly I think were bigger than the big one in this one, where you're talking about Tom Cruise learning how to fly a helicopter and actually doing stunts while the helicopter was flying in the mountains. And then also in the same movie, helo jumping. I think both those top this. I say that as someone that would never dare to do any 3 of those, obviously. And I think the plot and story in Fallout was better as well. That doesn't mean this movie's bad by any means. That's just the high level of storytelling that's been going on in this franchise recently. I mean, things really elevated with Ghost Protocol. It kind of reset the franchise into more of a continuous thing versus the first 2 Mission Impossibles, 1 and 3, also very good, elite movies. The second one we don't need to talk about. Those are kind of all standalone, other than, Ethan's main team still being in it. The reason why I think 5 and 6 are better is they're pretty much, they play right off each other, or like Fallout's almost a direct sequel, while this movie does kind of start a new storyline again. There's bits and pieces, like a couple characters from the previous films, but the story is kind of starting brand new. Here's my biggest critique is director Kittredge. He's back. We knew that from the trailer. I'm pretty sure he hasn't been in a movie since the first one in the 90s. And there's no like grand entrance. There's no Ethan moment where he's like, "You're still alive?" What? It's like he knew he was alive this whole time. He knew he was still part of intelligence this whole time. I thought that was kind of weak. Also, they kept referencing like a flashback scene to kind of give Ethan some backstory, but it was a scene that none of us have ever seen before. So when you're talking 7 movies in, I thought that was a little cheap as well. Like, that being said, the story is still damn good. I mean, I followed it. This is a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, and I did not feel it at all. I will say, I did not see this in IMAX. I went to my local AMC theater with the recliners, so standard screen. With it being $245, I figured I'd want a recliner for this one, so that's why I went with that option. That gives you an idea of how compelling the story still is. There's really no secret at this point that the main villain of this movie is actually AI, which I really appreciated, because in this universe, we're talking about all the tech they have and whatnot. It has to somewhat mirror our reality, but be a little more advanced. Look, what's the biggest thing going on right now in modern reality? It is AI, chat, GPT, cryptocurrency, all that kind of stuff. And this takes that, like a lot of movies before, puts it a little bit more in the future tech-wise. And it's kind of a warning is, hey, if you guys don't knock it off, this is going to be a real villain. Of course, us humans will not take the warning from this film, and something like this will definitely end up happening. There's no doubt in my mind, just like iRobot is starting to happen as we speak. So while the main villain is AI, it's not an Age of Ultron situation where they're dealing like with a robot with a computer brain. No, the AI is just being fought over by a bunch of different groups of humans. More positives, this movie gives the Mission Impossible tropes that I love the most. Obviously the masks are always great, the face masks, but when there's like 5 different groups of people all after the same thing, and there's backstabbing, and you don't really know who is ever on whose side. This movie is full of that, and I always love to see it. Touch on the acting real quick before I give that grade. Tom Cruise wasn't as locked in for this one as the last couple, I'll have to say. I think he was probably more focused on the action and the stunts a little bit. And also, you have to remember, man, this movie was filmed in the height of COVID. We all know the epic rant that Tom went on that was leaked. That was during the filming of this movie. I mean, we've got a $290 million budget here. The good news is you can see that $290 million on screen to the fullest. They spared no expense, as my man John Hammond would say. So I'm not going to accuse Tom of mailing it in any sense. Obviously, he gave it his all in his action per usual. Just in those acting scenes, those intimate moments, it was okay. It wasn't Top Gun Maverick levels. The rest of the squad was doing their thing per usual. I think the acting standout for this movie was definitely Haley Atwell. She is definitely going to be a welcomed addition to the Mission Impossible universe. Every time her face popped up on screen, she was a delight. For obvious reasons, but also I think her character was developed really well. I will say, because of how much time was spent developing her character, the rest of Ethan's team didn't really have much to do. I mean, I feel like the rest of the guys, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of screen time. It wasn't much. So yeah, I think those are all the bases. I mean, this isn't like a big spoiler heavy movie, like a comic book movie. I'll just, in closing, say that there was something missing. It wasn't quite as compelling as the Rogue Nation and Fallout plots for me. But with that being said, I'm gonna give this joint right here that B+. Still a damn good film, a good time at the movies. They make it in a way where if you don't really know much about Mission Impossible, you can still go and just enjoy a good action film. While also, if you're a big fan of the series like myself, you can also still get a lot out of it. But you may feel like a little something's missing, like I did. I think Dead Reckoning Part 2 will be better. I can't talk about why, but the mission that is hinted at the end, those stunts are going to be epic. And I'm also really happy that Tom Cruise recently came out and said he wants to do Mission Impossible movies till he's 80, like Harrison Ford doing Indiana Jones. I really thought Ethan was going to die in Part 2. I mean, I thought that was going to be the end of the series, but now that that's out of the way, quick spoiler. So I'm gonna give you a couple seconds. Again, quick spoiler here. Rebecca Ferguson's character does pass away, does die in this movie. They made her even more of a love interest in this one. They don't actually really show anything, but there's a lot of embraces with Ethan. You know, in Tom Cruise movies, there's not a whole bunch of romance or like sex or anything shown on screen. But they definitely showed that relationship that they had in a couple moments. So Rebecca Ferguson, thank you very much for your role in these 3 Mission Impossible films. I enjoyed your character a lot. And I guess Haley Atwell's character is going to take the mantle of the main female in the team. And we're going to keep going from there. So this movie is probably going to have to make $600-700 million for it to be considered a success, though. And that could be tough with Oppenheimer and Barbie both coming out this upcoming weekend. But we'll see. I mean, this movie is going to be in theaters for probably almost 2 months. So I could still see it getting there, word of mouth and whatnot. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you next time, probably soon, because I'm definitely going to be seeing Oppenheimer and Barbie. Probably going to stagger them between the next 2 weekends. So I will see you guys then.